All right, here we go. Welcome to Gen X Vibes, the podcast for true Gen Xers. We've got episode 1 going on right here, and we have named it Cleaning Out the Toy Box, toys from the 70s and 80s. So let's get that memory lane walk going with my co-host, John Pat, my brother. How are you?
I am strong and lovable.
You are. You always are. Yeah. I love your t-shirt.
Thank you. We'll talk about this one later. Yeah,
Here's
it might be
mine.
regional.
Here's mine. It's from the Gen X Vibes apparel shop. Suitcase of
a little
memory.
time after time.
Time after time. Little Cindy Lauper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but enough about
that. One of our sessions, just in the future, just throwing this out there, is both people who you found attractive in the 80s and people who you now look back on and go, what in the world was I thinking? I think that
famous people, right? We're not going to be calling out like our peers or anything, are we? We're not.
No. Not. Okay, yeah. Okay.
I don't think you want me to either there, buddy.
Yeah, no. Okay, let's move on. Toy boxes.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, you want to go first, or you want me to, or I'm lobbing.
I'll go ahead and start off. I'll go ahead and start off because honestly, this is one that has troubled me for pretty much my entire life. I would like to meet and know the backstory behind lawn darts. I mean, jarts, lawn darts, whatever they were called.
Yeah.
I mean, in today's day and age, and I don't know when all of a sudden American society became so litigious, right? But that's all part of our consciousness. Oh, you can get sued for anything nowadays. There was a point in time where a person came up with this idea, and it got greenlit. Like at no point did somebody go, so we want to take a 1.5 pound piece of metal with a sharpened edge, throw it up in the air, randomly, and have other people, by the way, standing around that circle. And at no point did somebody in the multitude of people that had to have been involved in the concept, design, manufacturing, marketing, at no point did somebody say, is this safe?
I mean, right? I'll take that one step further. Not only did they not say that, they were like, look, let's think about when everyone's out in the backyard drinking. And the kids are running around and nobody's watching them. Let's bring a projectile tetanus shot waiting to happen, object into it. Yeah. Yeah, but they were fun, man.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, to be fair to the brain trust that came up with this genius idea, they really were just taking horseshoes, which is another hunk of metal, and they're like, hey, you know what? Let's take that and just sharpen it.
Yeah.
It's already bad enough, but let's take it and sharpen it.
But the maker is probably laughing his ass off, on some big ship and private boat in the Caribbean or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, all kidding aside, I think that one of the things was we should put this aside and maybe do a documentary on that, like the whole thing, because at some point, they were taken off the market, and I wonder if there were probably lawsuits and so on and so forth. So it'd be an interesting, kind of like a Steve Martin's movie, The Jerk, like an idea that eventually related to a $2.87 settlement with a million people or something like that.
Right. Something must have happened.
Hashtag The Jerk. Anyway.
Yeah. Those were,
all right. So that's one that has traumatized me through life.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it'd be really funny if I turned my head and you saw a jart sticking out of the back of it. Like, I can't seem to get it off my mind. Anyway.
I just think back of playing down at the beach, right? Playing jarts and having, because it was the aim was that plastic thing.
Plastic circle.
It's like a light, like the necklaces are now. You just put it together. Yeah.
And it really was only about 1.5 feet wide.
Yeah. It wasn't big. Yeah. So I don't know if that would, there's nothing wrong here, but those weren't like manufactured for kids. We played with them, and that was the 70s. Yeah.
So again, it just underscores the point. Like, there are a lot of people who are culpable, right? The person who came up with the people who manufactured, the parents who are like, here you go play, go, stop watching TV. You should be outside. Here are some, sharpened metal projectiles. Go have fun with friends. Okay.
Yeah, this will come up a lot, but that whole idea of like, just go outside and find an activity. And
Yep.
okay, an activity. Here we
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
hmm and I mean, compared to today, right? Now if you're going out riding your bike, well, we need to put you in bubble wrap, put on a helmet on you, and da 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 da. Make sure that you have
Run next to you. Yeah.
yeah, I have an Apple Air tag in case you get kidnapped, and so on and so forth. I mean, in our life, like our parents might as well have been like, here's a can of gasoline, some matches, and some razor blades. Go find something to do with
Right.
these outside.
I'm not sure that
Like,
that didn't happen either,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, they probably didn't give those to us, but
No,
they were always readily available, and we
and
found a
they
way to.
didn't care that we took on, yeah,
Yeah.
as long as we were out of sight. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to talk about some of the times that we had the police come to our house because of stupid stuff we did.
That goes all the way past the 90s. For sure.
Yeah.
For
All
sure.
right, so Jarts was my first toy from my.
Okay.
What's yours?
So I will pick one that is not as traumatizing, but still, on the precipice of dangerous. The Hippity Hoppity horse,
Oh,
right? So,
uh-huh,
I mean, I loved it, but you could get some air on that, you know?
uh-huh,
I
uh-huh,
mean, and like if you were eating, because nobody was watching you. I mean,
uh-huh.
it was just
I've seen internet videos now of like little kids, on like trampolines or something like that, and somebody jumps on it and the kid goes flying. I feel like any video today of kids on a trampoline eventually getting launched into the air, the hippity hoppity was a precursor to
was
that.
fair enough. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
That and I remember sitting on it watching TV. So it was like the original yoga ball for
yep,
ergonomics,
yep,
but hippity hoppity. Yeah.
yeah, and at a fraction of the cost.
Right. You know what?
Yeah.
I think I saw it was like $6 when it first came out, something like that. We had a red
You
one,
know,
right?
yeah, yeah, it was red. Yeah, yeah. And now the other thing, and I'm gonna skew pornographic here, is if I remember, it had these nubs,
Yeah.
like yeah, and
I was
and,
just
and
gonna say there was a sexual element that was
that
really
we didn't get,
troubling.
right? Yeah, but I am after this gonna probably go ahead and see if I can order one online and maybe have a conversation with my wife, and I don't know, like,
You know what? And that's why
any
we're doing
interest?
this. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
To just
hmm
expand our worlds.
A spark. It's all about the spark that
It's
the
really
80s
quite
bring.
beautiful, actually.
Exactly, exactly.
Beautiful.
Folks, go ahead. I'll post videos on another channel. Right.
That's a whole nother subscription.
Exactly. It's my old OnlyFans account. Like, yeah,
I mean, it's
what
on
people.
MySpace, so it's not very like.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Hey, you know what? Apparently, people pay big money for pictures of women's feet on OnlyFans. So maybe I'm tapping into an
A hippity
unfound
hoppity
market.
niche. Yeah, honestly you
Exactly.
probably are. Yeah, which is
Disturbing.
disturbing. Yeah, exactly.
So,
All
all
right, you
right.
got another?
So, yeah, Mean Green Machine. Okay,
Mm,
so the Mean Green Machine was probably, so there were a lot of different like toys that were like that, big
mhm.
wheels and what have you. Okay, but in my book, the Mean Green Machine was and is by far the best wheel-based toy ever. And if they ever came out with a Mean Green Machine for adults, I'd be
Again, we're
first in
just
line.
an idea mill
I
here.
mean,
Yeah.
remember they had the two little things like you
I
pedal, pedal,
don't
pedal,
remember
pedal,
it
pedal.
that much. I feel like that was a boy toy.
Well, yeah, way to be way to be gender specific.
I'm just saying, it was the
You know
70s.
what? What
These
you
for
said,
me hadn't come out yet.
what you said would have been appropriate in our time. Okay, but today, through today's lens, I'm offended.
Well,
I'm offended. But in
that's
any
not the
case, I
lens
mean,
we're using.
exactly. I was really low. It was really low to the ground. Okay, and and the pedals were in front and had a
Mhm.
big wheel in the front, and then it had these two levers next to you, and so you get
That would
moving and
skid
you
out.
turn a lever, and it would just like whip you
Hmm.
around here, there, and there have been like through the years there have been other variations of it. I think Razer came out with some sort of
Okay.
attempt,
Huh.
when the whole whatever those things were in vogue. But just back then in the 80s, man, that thing was cool, and not and again, everybody had a big wheel, but not too many people had the mean green
Well,
machine.
and that's what I was going to ask you was the green machine like after the big wheel or for older kid? Like was big wheel for the younger kid?
I'd have to do some
Yeah.
research, but my memory is that like it was a VHS beta type thing.
Mm,
Like, big wheels got the got into the market first and people ended up
mhm,
buying it. The Mean Green Machine was a superior product, but
mhm,
it either missed the moment when and everybody had already bought their kids big wheels or what have you, but it was definitely in my book a
mhm.
superior product.
Right.
So
So the marketing wasn't as
mhm.
good. Yeah. I'll bet you that was 70s. You're saying 80s, but I'll bet you were 8. I bet you were 7
I
or
mean,
8.
yeah, because by the time that I was, 12 years old, I was, 6'3" and
Right. So
230 pounds. So yeah, you're probably right. I'd sit on the Mean Green Machine and it would drag along the ground. And
I know I was 5'10". I don't know why all my friends' parents were not comfortable around me.
exactly. And, people's always worried about what's in the food nowadays. It's like obviously there must have been some hormones and steroids in the London broil that we ate.
And the Wonder Bread. Yeah.
In the Wonder Bread and the hamburger helper. But that's a
Salisbury steak. Yeah.
mm,
That's a whole nother episode
I'm hungry.
for sure. I
Anyway,
know, right? I know.
yeah. All right. So there was my Mean Green Machine. Back to you.
Um, I'm gonna say 3 together just because I feel like, well, I guess 2 together, maybe 3 together because I kind of feel like they're just like so iconic, right? So Light Bright,
Oh yeah.
Easy Bake Oven,
Okay.
and Viewmaster.
Viewmaster. Help me with the Viewmaster. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh,
All right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so, not to delude you, but I just felt like, I mean, Easy Bake Oven, I don't know what to say. It's freaking iconic and it still exists.
Does it? Oh Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
All right.
probably
Yeah.
like not pink, you know what I mean? So that everybody,
And maybe that was an exercise of teaching kids patience, right? Because it took a good 2 hours to bake an upside down pineapple cake with a 50-watt light bulb, right? So maybe that was genius, where
I think it
parents were
was like
just
a
like,
25-watt bulb. Yeah. And I don't
yeah,
think I ever got the center fully
oh,
cooked of anything.
it
Yeah.
was horrible. I mean, I don't think that anybody could produce anything of value from
I mean,
that.
cooking
And
with a light bulb, like,
yeah, huh,
hello.
right, yeah, but again, apparently everybody had one, and
Yes.
everybody, and so on and so forth. And so
That's
you would just sit there for 2 hours, like looking in through that
right.
little plastic window, being like, oh, is it warm? Is it ready yet? And again, like, if you go out to a restaurant and they have upside down pineapple cake like on the menu, like
Uh-huh.
you'd be like, ew, gross, I don't want that. But somehow put it in a plastic, plastic square with a 25 light bulb, and all of a sudden you're like, Gordon Ramsay, watch out. Like,
You know what? It speaks to though, like that we had the freaking time.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like we didn't have television except for Saturday mornings, and you know what I mean? Like we had the time to literally just stare into that oven window, like you said.
Mhm. And it's funny because as I was thinking about this, that was one of the things that I was kind of thinking about was like how unsophisticated the toys were,
Hmm.
through today's lens and what have you, and yet how engrossing they
Hmm.
were. You would sit there for hours playing Simon. Remember that? Beep,
Yep.
boop,
Yep.
boop, and it would have your attention for hours.
Huh?
Some of the first generation like handheld video games. I mean, to even call them video games is unfair. Like the football one, do you remember that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like so handheld
Right.
and you were it'd be like I mean I don't even can't even like up carrot over da, da,
Right.
da,
There was
and it would
only
have your
like it was like Etch a Sketch. There were only right angles,
yeah.
right? Like
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And really the only thing on the screen was like a two diode straight line,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? And so you'd move that straight line up and then
High
you move that
high
straight line
end,
forward. Yeah,
high tech.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know
Or
why, but
how
it made me think of that toy that had water in it with the rings.
That's exactly where I was going.
Oh,
Yep.
were you?
And you press the button and it
Yeah.
would cause the little jet and you were trying to put it onto the pegs. Yep.
Hours.
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 I
Yep.
mean, we probably argued about it, like you and I. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Like,
you
oh
said,
yeah, yeah, like, oh, give me that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
What was that
then
called? Was that called anything specifically?
water ring.
Or rings? Get it?
Yeah,
Thing. Hmm.
exactly,
Yep. It
exactly.
sticks with you, that name. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And then you can't help but you look back to it, and again, obviously I have a bias towards our generation, our time, Gen X. But there are so many that are iconic. Okay, Cabbage Patch Kids,
Right.
uh, um, My Pretty Pony,
Yep.
right? Transformers, an entire like from these
Yeah.
entire industries have been built. Franchises,
Yeah.
have been built around these.
Hmm.
Um, and I wonder, and it probably is, right? But I look and it's not my generation, but I wonder whether or not the kids from the 90s, the late 90s, the kids
Hmm.
from the early 2000s, are there anything that they built that has created this,
Right.
this whole franchise?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be
Who knows?
unplugged of it if they did, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because yeah.
Mm,
Cabbage Patch and my Pretty Pony remind me of Alice, our little sister, who we'll have on the
mhm,
show at some point,
mhm.
definitely when we talk about Goonies.
All right, so what was the name of our Cabbage Patch Kid?
It was something Irish because Santa brought it when we were in Ireland.
Mhm.
And so I'm gonna say begin with a K?
Began with a C. Well, I mean, it began with a C unless you're a stripper, at which point it does begin with a K.
Champagne?
I'll no. I know what we're doing tonight. Crystal
Hippity
Bridget.
Hoppity.
Chris, exactly. Hey, it's gonna be a banner night in the Fitzgerald household. Crystal Bridget, if you'll
Crystal
remember.
I
Yep,
was gonna
yep,
say Bridget. I was gonna say
mhm,
Bridget, but I
mhm.
didn't think that was it.
Yep, she got it. So I think it was either 1980 or 1981. We took that trip over to
Right.
Ireland, and I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks around, and it was definitely around Christmas
Yeah.
time. And so it was the five of us and our two parents, seven, in a tiny minivan, because back then we didn't have like the minivans that we have
Right.
today, right? I mean, we looked like refugees from East Germany.
What was
Okay,
the Benny Hill music? Like I feel like that was when we got
yep,
out. Like I felt like
yep. Oh yeah, and we're driving through Ireland, right? And one of the things that's interesting is at that time across the entire world, but especially in Ireland, there was a deep, deep economic depression.
mm,
And so when we were driving around, like Ireland was, you know, in a bad way. I think
mm.
unemployment was like 20, 30% or something
Shit,
like
I
that.
didn't know
So
that.
yeah, yeah. Because and I say this because a number of years later, I got to go back to Ireland, and Ireland had a huge upswing in their economy. They were called the
Mm.
Celtic Tiger because and they actually had a lot of people from Eastern European countries come to Ireland to work as waiters, waitresses, and what have you. And so the experiences were completely polar
Oh,
opposites. But
interesting.
in any case, so Alice, we were there for Christmas, and Mom and Dad had brought and hidden the Cabbage Patch
Santa
from.
did.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, Santa. My bad. So, but yeah, and so we were at the hotel, and the all the people were very nice, and she allowed the staff to name her
That's
um
right.
her Cabbage Patch Kid. Yep.
Right. See, that's why I have you on this show because you're my memory in many, 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 many ways. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
So
great trip.
yeah, that was yeah, well,
Remember when
not at
Brooke
the
got his
time.
arm caught in the bed frame and he thought that his arm had fallen off because it was so
He
dead
fell asleep. It
asleep?
fell
Yeah.
asleep. Yep. Hmm. Do you also remember we had like one Walkman amongst us, and we had like one tape, and it was one of the K-tel tapes, and it was a
Oh my,
mixtape.
right.
Okay, and it had I forget. I'll have to look it up, but it had one Michael Jackson song, and we just like we'd fight over it because it was
Right.
it was a Walkman, so only
Hmm.
one person could listen to it at a
I
time.
remember mom was like, take off the Walkman and look outside. You're like, we can do both.
Yeah, you shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That'd
Yeah.
be another episode too, is to check out the K-tel, those mixes. That would be cool. Cause
We'll also add it to the website, a T-shirt that basically shows a stack of cassettes, and it's be
mhm,
like, I got all this from Columbia House for
yes.
1 penny.
Yeah.
Right.
Something like that. Yeah. Or
Mhm.
I still owe Columbia House.
Yeah, exactly. I think all of us
I
like
know.
God.
Like I don't know why they went bankrupt.
I don't understand it. It's amazing how many people actually lived at our home address
I know.
because they just
I was
kept
just gonna say
receiving
how many
10.
cards.
They just kept receiving tape after tape, and it only cost them a penny.
Oh, that's hysterical. Funny.
All right,
All right,
so
let's do one more each.
okay.
I know
You
what
want
I'm
me to
going
go
to end
first?
with. So what do you got?
Okay, so this is a deep cut. Okay, but for some reason, like in my heart of hearts, this was my all-time favorite toy that I ever received, and it was called a big track. And so it was it was about this big, and it was a
Doesn't look very
futurist.
big.
That's what she said. Um,
Okay.
okay, everything. I don't know how to do. Okay, but and so it was this futuristic looking tank. Okay, and so it had
Okay.
3 wheels on one side, 3 wheels on the other. I can actually pull up a picture of it if it helps, but in any case, and and it came out into like 1979, around 1979, 1980. Okay, and so it looked like this futuristic tank, and you could program it, and so you'd be like, program, go forward 1, 2, 3, 4 lengths, then turn right 1,
Okay.
then go
I'm
forward
remembering.
foot,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth. So in the end, all it was this, thing that took like, of course, like 20 pounds of D batteries. Um, you know, but you could program it,
Right.
and you could make it go, forward 5 feet, and then,
Yeah.
to the right, 3 feet, and you'd be like, yeah!
I now I'm remembering you doing that, like figuring out how many to get it from like the family room into the kitchen, to
Yep,
Mama's feet or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
And
wow.
again,
What color was it?
it was gray. I mean, like I said,
Okay.
I can find a picture of it and pull it up. But again, it was called Big Track.
Big toe.
At Big Trek, I think it was Track or Trek. Anyway, and so that was a Christmas gift that I got. And to the greater point, like that had me enthralled
Mm-hmm.
for hours and
Right.
hours and days on end, where it was just like, okay, let
Plotting
me
it
see if
out.
I can
Like,
plot
yeah.
it out. Right,
You couldn't have to
exactly.
turn too soon and then
Hmm.
back it up.
I
Was
mean,
that
bad things happened.
so that was that Banbury, if it was 80 or
That
80,
was a Banbury. Yep,
right? Our
yep.
second house, not
Our
yeah,
second house. Yep, growing up.
gotcha.
So,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right. So,
you remember that.
what's your most iconic one?
Let's see if you remember this. I spent hours playing with this. It was, I don't know what the hell you call it, but it was the plastic thing that you put on your ankle and then it had a lemon.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And you
Yeah.
just twirl it
And
around
just
and so on and so
twirl
forth.
up and down the driveway, up
Hmm.
and down the driveway, up and down the driveway. Man, if I did
Yeah, I
that for
remember
2
that.
minutes a day today,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's felt.
But I loved that thing. I mean,
Yeah.
hours and hours and hours and hours. Yeah. Some
But
bruises around my
I
ankle.
was about to say, one of the things that I do remember about that is if if you happen to be in the general proximity of you while you were going up and
Yeah.
down our driveway with that, you were bound to get you know
Yeah, it
collateral
was akin
damage.
to like getting the shopping cart, getting mom on the heels with the shopping cart.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
But I loved that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there are just so many. I'd be interested to, on the webpage to have other people just post what some of their most iconic. Because I mean,
But
again,
just gonna say, please comment, and
yeah,
down below and let us know which ones come to mind for you, or if you remember any of these, or have old
yeah.
pictures of them or whatever. Yeah.
Just there are so many like this reminiscing. When other people bring stuff up, you just kind of go like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah,
That
and for that
feeling, I
one
know.
moment, you get this jolt of serotonin or
Mm-hmm.
dopamine or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, that makes me so happy for that one moment,
Yeah.
remembering that particular Hot Wheels.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. And all the feelings, right, that it evoked. Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of them, so we'll end with this. Like in your memory, for me, all of these things about toys and things like I can't help but bring them back to Christmas because
Mm.
it always seems as though that was when you got these memorable toys, you got
Yeah.
these big toys, and you got to spend, the next week when you weren't at school playing with these
Mm-hmm.
toys, and so it just made an indelible memory
Yeah.
of both, one of the happiest times each year, Christmas,
Yeah.
and these toys and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So weird.
Yeah. Absolutely. And thinking back on them keeps the vibe alive.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Gen X vibes.
That's
All right.
right.
On that note, my friend, you're gonna get on Amazon and order Hippity Hoppity. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Don't even
No,
tell me.
I'm gonna call up investors and I'm gonna create a mean green machine for people over 300 pounds.
If I had money, I would. I would. Okay. All right. Love you lots.
I love you.
All right.
Later.
Bye.